Goals, dreams, moving forward. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. No one can tell about us better than ourselves. Watch the block of programs of TV BRICS International Network on Umthalatv, South Africa.
In this area, you can move around only by off-road vehicles, and you can start New Year's greetings in the middle of October. The majestic Far Eastern Taiga. Nature that leaves you speechless. Hundreds of kilometers of dirt roads and fragrant fresh air instead of 1,000 therapists. The nearest settlement is a few hours away. There is no internet nor mobile reception, but there is something much more interesting. The Albazino deposit. It is from here that the unique technology for the production of Russian gold begins. Meet Anfisa, the first quarry of the Albazino mining and processing plant, and its first love. Ore mining has been carried out here since the enterprise was founded in 2008. The depth has already reached 200 meters, which can be compared with the height of a 60-story building. During the preparation of our film for the broadcast, Anfisa began to look different from this footage. The development of the ore area gives the quarry a new face every day. It's not only the appearance that changes, but also the mood.
Everything is alive here. Everything is constantly changing. Changes happen every day. The life is in full swing inside contour of a quarry. As we constantly work out the ledges, new places get formed.
You definitely can't get bored with it. Either a quack will suddenly appear along the side, or the slope will come to life. However, such whims cannot frighten those who work here. Technology helps people. A sensitive georadar monitors the quarry's behavior. It predicts all the changes, calculates their exact time, and sends a signal in advance to the supervisor. Haul trucks are brought to the surface until the danger passes. Anfisa isn't just a girl with character, but also with a rich dowry. The gold content in the ore is approximately 5 grams per ton, the highest among the ore zones of the deposit. There are 6 of them: Anfisa, Olga, Nadezhda, Yekaterina I, Yekaterina II, and Farida. The latter one is also quite the lass. They say it's often deceitful and throws surprises in, as if it doesn't want to change from a geological exploration site to the quarry status. Gold miners joke, perhaps it would have been better to give male names to the Albazino ore zones. But despite the complex geology, they do not intend to deviate from the set plans. As for Farida, they plan to prospect it until 2024. The total excavation of the overburden, the empty rock that envelops the ore body, and the gold-bearing ore itself will be about 20 million cubic meters. It's impossible to understand where the overburden is and where the ore is. Both look no different from large rubble. The future gold is still a gray raw material. It's so hard that you can't go without drilling and blasting. Every day, at the same time, a ringing silence reigns over Albazino, which is soon broken by the roar of ore fireworks, a truly impressive sight. Each such explosion first occurs on a computer screen. Mine planning engineers create an exact copy of the site, enter all the necessary data received from geologists, model the contour of the ore, and find the most convenient way to extract it. Modern technology has replaced paper drawings. What used to take several weeks in the past now takes just a few minutes.
You can create a wire frame very quickly, a 3D wire frame of our freight ore. Again, with the help of special commands. Wireframe our ore block, and in 2 buttons using the wireframe and our model, calculate and understand how much metal does this block contain and what is its composition.
Every minute at this unusual enterprise is worth its weight in gold. Work does not stop even at night. In the dark, the quarry is illuminated by light masts and headlights of the huge haul trucks. The machine weighs 72 tons itself, plus about 90 tons of rock mass loaded by an excavator in the back. Here they can steer the powerful equipment even with their eyes closed. The landscape has long been learned by heart. Drivers have 12-hour shifts. They can wind up to 200 kilometers in just one. Alexander Yalagov has a day shift today. Go down the serpentine, load the soil, take it up. What's very important, no speeding. The maximum speed limit ranges from 35 to 45 kilometers per hour. The quarry road is monitored by special software.
It notes if I drive with the soil, then no more than 35 kilometers per hour. If I exceed this limit, I will receive a notification. If I'm empty, then 45 is permitted. Everything is thought through, like in space.
They admit that after the shift, and it lasts for 2 months each time, they get so used to the huge haul trucks that even driving an SUV feels like a go-kart. But the day will come, and all the machines will leave the quarry. The larger and deeper it is, the higher are the risks and costs. It will just become unprofitable to get to the ore in an open way. However, there is another underground way. In a car sheathed in metal, as if from a science fiction film, we descend to a depth of 230 meters underground. Not only are familiar overalls and a helmet mandatory, but also a flashlight, a mine self-rescue device in case of an emergency if there's nothing to breathe, and rubber boots. Mine, or in professional mining slang, mine camp, is a whole underground city. Contrary to expectations, it is quite warm in here, even hot. There is electricity, roads, signs, and people. Up to 80 people per shift. The first thing we ask is, how not to get lost in this labyrinth.
Since I have been working here for a number of years, and the processing basically takes place in my presence, it is difficult for me to get lost. When a new person arrives, of course, at first they need 3-4 days to memorize the routes. We give them a map of the mine.
Mines are literally golden veins. An electric boring machine helps to get close to them. A huge hammer drill bites into the wall and tunnels further and further by approximately 700 meters per month. The vaults are reinforced with a grid such as this. In some cases, it is covered with shotcrete to avoid collapsing. There are no witches or trolls in this Hall of the Mountain King, but it still fascinates with its mystery. Once again, we're going to discover new underground horizons. One more rig is needed already for cleansing drilling, that is, for the extraction of gold-bearing ore itself. It gets loaded onto haul trucks and lifted to the surface. Gray-colored golden mountains from the quarry and the mine are brought to the ore warehouse and then sent to the factory. The gold content is not the same. Therefore, before the start of the enrichment process, a kind of cocktail of various ores has to be mixed, so that in the end you get an average value. From the scoop to the crusher, then to the feeder, then to the conveyor, from there to the heart of the processing plant. It was built right in the Albazino deposit. Local ore is called refractory. It really takes a lot of perseverance to turn it into a precious metal. Tiny gold particles hide in the sulfide shell of iron, sulfur, and arsenic. The treasured element is lured out with technology. The refractory ore arrives into a giant industrial mill on the conveyor. It grinds raw materials and prepares them for the next stage of the technological chain. It is impossible to see what's happening inside, but you can switch your imagination on. Besides the ore, iron balls roll and spin inside the drum. Steel balls help the huge mill to grind the ore. This is what they look like. Each of them weighs 8 kilograms. In total, there are 35 tons of those balls working in just one mill. The pulverized ore is mixed with hot water. The mixture is called pulp, as professional metallurgists call it. Pumps transfer this mixture into special devices, hydrocyclones, and then the proper fun begins.
As for me, the flotation process is my favorite, and the rest are so-so. Of course, I do not miss them in the enrichment process, but my favorite one is flotation.
Gold is right under your feet. After the pulp enters the flotation machines, it is infused with reagents and air bubbles. In a chemical reaction process, precious particles in sulfide shell stick to the bubbles. They float to the surface. Any excess sinks to the bottom. This is the enrichment process in action. All that glitters is not gold, but this black foam is already half yellow metal. The bubbly flotation product is sent to the thickening stage where it begins to turn into a gold ore concentrate. It takes on a solid state. Excess water is squeezed out with a press, and now you can hold the factory's treasure in your hands. However, the so-called cake has yet to be dried at a temperature of 500 degrees Celsius. There is a giant oven for this. The result of total dehydration is flotation concentrate, the final product of the Albazino enrichment plant. The gold content in it is about 40 grams per ton. So much compared to ore, and so little in terms of future precious ingots. The concentrate in form of a dark gray powder is loaded into large soft containers called big bags and taken away from the enterprise. We walked about 20,000 steps through the territory in just a few hours. The next stages of the production chain lie ahead. The production technology is not only unique, but also environmentally friendly. Green monitoring, the environmental state control, is the normal attribute for Albazino and other polymetal enterprises. Water, soil, and air samples are regularly tested everywhere. To see it in action, we go for a business walk in a forest with Svetlana Renchin-Nemayeva, a laboratory engineer. Svetlana, tell us where we're going and what we're going to do there. Today, we are going to take water samples from the control spot of the Khvoyny Creek. What do you always have with you? What are your weapons? Yes, with us we take a sampler, sample containers, as well as a thermometer. Sooner or later, in the heart of the far eastern taiga, you will come face to face with its inhabitants. Therefore, an engineer should always have a place in their bag for a secret weapon, a bear repeller. Well, let's try. It's interesting. Have you ever tried it? No, I haven't used it yet. It's a historical moment. Yes, a test drive. Maybe it's all about the repeller. Maybe it's not the season, but we never met a single bear during the shoot. monitoring is only a small part of a large industrial ecosystem. In order to minimize risks for the environment and reduce the impact on it, gold miners use the overburden, waste rock, to build roads and industrial sites for enterprises. Wind and solar energy is used for outdoor and indoor lighting. Waste oil is used as fuel for boiler houses. And technological solutions are filtered and relaunched into the production process so as not to devastate rivers and lakes. The company's environmental management system complies with international standards. Thanks to this, greenhouse gas emissions have been reduced by about 100 tons per year, plus 1 million tons of saved water in the same period. When you come for an audit, we conduct enterprise internal audits twice a year. We fly out and see what achievements there are, the level of preservation. My heart rejoices for the fact that we leave a good ecological situation for our children in the region where we carry out our economic activities. Mud roads, forests, and mountains, from the Albazino deposit to the ferry across the Almgun River. From one bank to another and back is the established way of life in the taiga. But interesting things do happen too. Two-legged ferrymen get help from the four-legged ones to monitor the area. Recently, a dog named Sasiska, Sausage, who lives by the crossing, met a fiancé. Today, apparently, it's his turn to be on duty. He closely inspects each car. There is no doubt everything is under control. The flotation concentrate has successfully crossed the river and is ready to continue the journey. It will take a few more hours. It'll have to overcome over 400 kilometers in total. The end point is the Amur hydrometallurgical plant.
Right now, we are at the flotation concentrate warehouse. It's the material that enters the hydrometallurgical plant for further processing.
Each giant bag weighs about 14 tons. Even rows of big bags don't hang out here for long. The concentrate has to be crushed even more. It is done by a mill similar to the one we've seen at the Albazino factory. The resulting powder is mixed with water again to make pulp and sent to the autoclave, the main unit of the enterprise. We were lucky. At this plant, we managed to look into places where no journalist has yet set their foot. That rare occasion when the autoclave is stopped for maintenance work. And now we'll see what it looks like on the inside. It's the first one in Russia, and it was made in China. On the inside, it is lined with refractory bricks, and they need to be replaced regularly. The oxidation processes are to blame. This is a key stage in the gold extraction. At a temperature of 200 degrees Celsius and a pressure of 22 atmospheres after the supply of oxygen, the sulfide shirt on stubborn precious particles can finally be unbuttoned. The autoclave does all the work by itself, which is why maintenance is so important. The cost of a mistake is too high. The slightest disturbance of the process, and at the output you may see anything but gold.
Shutdown repairs are necessary in order to inspect the lining of the autoclave, inspect the condition of mechanical agitators, and inspect the electrical and automatic parts of the control systems, and basically to make sure that everything works as usual. Everything is in order and another campaign of working as usual can be carried out.
Golden time for development. Before we managed to leave the workshop, the time came for even more surprises. Soon the Amur hydrometallurgical plant will become the first enterprise in Russia that will receive yellow precious metal from double refractory ores. The new autoclave, the largest in the history of the world gold mining industry, will take this on.
The technology is not only unique, but it is also being implemented in our time. And now we can go and see how it happens, how history is written. And let me tell you, it's wonderful. Moreover, the size is astounding. This is a size increase of the existing equipment by almost 2 times compared to the current production.
50 meters in length and 6 in diameter versus 25 and 3 respectively. An entire special operation had to be carried out to deliver such a colossus to the plant territory. First by water from Belgium, then by land from a temporary dock specially built in Amursk. The autoclave is not the last stage of the production. After oxidation, opening of the sulfide shell, gold must be extracted. The pulp is placed in special containers that are mounted at the height of a 5-story building.
These are the instantaneous boiling devices. They are engaged in reducing the pulp temperature. After the pulp is cooled, it enters the next neutralization section, where the excess acid formed in the autoclave is removed, and the pulp is further transported to the sorption leaching section.
Sorption leaching is the meeting of the precious pulp with sodium cyanide and activated charcoal. The latter sticks to the gold particles, collects them, and delivers them to the next stage. It remains to transfer the resulting gold solution to a solid state using electrolysis, the impact of electric current. And voila, our chemistry and metallurgy lesson is almost over. Much of the exciting manufacturing process takes place in opaque sealed containers, but its ending more than makes up for it. In a secret room, the cathode sediment of gold ore concentrate takes the form of an ingot. This is an induction furnace. Its temperature is 1,163 degrees Celsius. A beautiful and bewitching melting lasts about an hour and a half. A so-called doré alloy is born. After processing, it is poured into molds for metal and allowed to cool down. The resulting rough ingot is about 30% silver and 70% gold. The weight of this particular ingot is about 9 kilograms. I have to admit it's quite heavy to carry, but it's clearly worth it. A unique opportunity to hold several tens of millions of rubles in your hands. The information about the number of ingots produced at an enterprise per month is kept in the strictest confidence. Such industrial gold is not stored in banks. It is not yet possible to make jewelry from it, but this is already a real treasure. A priceless treasure for those who create it. The golden rule is not just to extract the yellow metal from the flotation concentrate, but to do it as efficiently as possible. The extraction factor at the Amur hydrometallurgical plant is 96.5%, one of the best indicators in the world, and the truth is, it's worth a lot.
This is the technology uniqueness, its complexity, its scientific nature, and the constant challenge every day associated with this complexity that makes us seek and improve the efficiency of our production.
An alloy of science and technology. Every day, dozens of specialists conjure in order to improve performance indicators. The analytical laboratory has its own gold mining. Here, flotation concentrate, processed products, and finished products are examined. Samples are closely studied, the purity of the noble metal and its content in solid materials are determined. A miniature production process. One can watch how gold and silver dissolve in molten lead, how after its removal, the so-called kinglets are formed, and if you get rid of silver, pieces of gold remain. They were affectionately nicknamed squats. Among other things, all this is necessary in order to obtain enviable doré bars, which have already been sent to a refinery for further processing. The laboratory currently has 146 methods, and there will be even more. The laboratory staff is increasing, the laboratory itself is getting bigger, Currently, work is underway to add additional rooms to the main building. Well, and naturally, the scope of accreditation of the laboratory will expand. Some people don't have as many impressions in a year as we had in 9 days. On this trip, we went through 7 time zones and about 15,000 kilometers by air on land and underground. We became one with overalls and footwear, memorized the plant safety rules forever, saw the whole process of making gold bars, and even managed to touch them. But the most valuable thing is getting to know those who work at every stage of the technological chain. People of a special breed with a strong character and golden hands. It's thanks to them that new bright prospects are opening up for the gold mining industry.